Mr. Speaker, we're in receipt of a conference report on Senate Bill 172 by Senator Colomb relative to marriage, provide a minimum age for marriage, provide certain terms, conditions, and procedures. The conference report, signed by the 6 conferees, rejected all House amendments and proposes 10 new amendments. There is matter in the conference report that is outside the disagreement between the 2 houses.
Representative Smith.
Members are asked to suspend the rules to consider the conference report for Senate Bill 172.
Is there any objection? Without objection, so ordered.
Make your motion to adopt. You need to.
Representative Hodges.
Members, I'd like to ask for your approval of the conference report that we're giving on this bill. We came to a complete agreement on leaving the age at 16 to 17 as it was when it came from the House. We also added in parental and judicial consent for both the 16 and 17-year-olds. We have also added in the list of requirements for judicial consent and the questions that should be asked. And we also have the age gap at 3 years instead of the 4 years.
For a question, Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Smith, who were the conferees?
Representative Garofoli, Nancy Landry, and myself. Yes. And we had Colomb and, let's see, I don't know, it's Luno, and I'm not sure who the other one was. I don't have the thing. Sorry. Ward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So it's been debated all day long.
For a question, Representative James.
Did Representative Landry sign it?
Yes, she did.
It's a good bill. I look forward to voting for it. Thank you.
There are no other questions for the floor on the committee report. Representative Hodges.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. While I really appreciate the intent behind this bill, and Senator Colomb, she has my deepest respect. But I want to just say I rise in opposition to this. Under current law in Louisiana, girls who are 16 and 17-year-olds can get married right now if both parents consent to it. And if both parents can't be found, then a judge can make the determination that they can get married. But the reason that I think we should oppose this right now, Senator Mizell has a task force that she has instated to study the effects of this. I've been on the Human Trafficking Task Force, and we're not aware that this is a problem. Human traffickers do not marry their victims. They don't marry their victims off. They take these girls and they'll say 20 times a day, this is what has to happen. They're not promoting marriage. And so a ban of marriage is just going to hurt the young women and girls that this bill purports to protect and is, I think, in good intention, trying to protect. But it may sound good to some people, but the sad fact is some minor girls are already pregnant with their boyfriend's baby, and it's sad that we're even having this conversation. But if this bill passes the way it is, if she's 15, she can't get married. And so I just want to ask you to think about how does this benefit the pregnant girl to deny her the benefit of marriage as protection for her and her baby. If the girl lives with her boyfriend can't marry the father of her baby, she will not be entitled to community property. She can't get on her would-be husband's insurance. So there's things like that I think we need to think about, that marriage legally decides a baby's paternity without having to have a DNA test. And so there's several reasons. I think, I know that I had read an article that said 15 years ago a number of states had begun passing these types of marriage bans, and they wanted to prohibit minor girls from getting married, and the results were disastrous. The statistics showed they had increase in illegitimacy and an increase in corresponding social service programs on the to take care of those people instead of holding the fathers accountable and letting them get married if they want to get married. We're not forcing anybody to get married.
Representative Hodges, can I get you to wipe out? We have all the money bills to do.
So anyway, quite simply, anytime a 15-year-old gets pregnant, it's devastatingly tragic, and the girl's already pregnant. So what would you do? Tell her to have an abortion, or tell her to raise the baby on her own, or let her get married? So with that, I just ask you to vote no on this. Thank you.
There are no other members to speak. Representative Smith moves the adoption of the conference committee report. All those in favor will vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The clerk will open the machine. Vote your machines, members. Are you through voting? Representative Stefanski, yes. Representative Abramson, yes. Representative Jimmy Harris, yes. Are you through voting? Representative Gwynn, no. Are you through voting? Are you through voting? Clerk will close the machine. 61 yeas, 36 nays, and the conference committee report is adopted.
Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 172 by Senator Colomb. It's enactment in the Civil Code and the Children's Code relative to marriage. The conferees recommend that House Committee amendment proposed by House Committee on Civil Law and Procedure be rejected. Legislative Bureau amendments be rejected. House floor amendments proposed by Representative Hilferty be rejected. House floor amendments proposed by Representative Amade be rejected. They add additional... They add an additional 10 amendments to the Conference Committee report. It is signed by all 6 members of the Conference
Senator
Committee.
Colomb.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, we worked on this bill for a long time. We worked with the other side up until the 11th hour. Actually, we worked with Mr. G. Mills from the Family Forum and his people, and we've come out with what we think is good. It's not perfect, but it's good. And if anybody has questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If not, I'll move that we concur in the Conference Committee report.
All right. Senator Walsworth, you got a quick question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Right now, there is no minimum age in Louisiana. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
What is the minimum age?
16.
16. Okay. And we
16.
keep it at 16.
It's 16, and they have to have the parental consent and a judge.
And a judge.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
and there's a list of questions that the judge has to ask and some protection in there. And they have to.
3 have got to sign on.
That's correct.
Senator Hewitt, you got a quick question.
Thank you, Mr. President. So there's a lot of amendments in here. So what's changed? What's the deal now in what's being proposed?
Okay. So the House wanted to add questions that they wanted the judge to ask the couple when they were getting married. They wanted to ask them questions. The questions are in the bill. They also wanted them to have counseling, and they wanted to talk to the couples separately, like the guy separately from the female, and the age is 16, and parental consent and the judge.
All right. Any other questions? Senator Colomb now moves to adopt the Conference Committee report. Machine open. Those in favor, vote yes. Vote no. Vote your machines, please. Vote your machines, please. You through voting? Senator Donahue, yes. Senator Fanning, yes. You through voting? All right, close them up, please. 35 yeas, 2 nays. The report is adopted.